Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. I'm Jeanie Ryce, your co-host. We also have co-hosts Dr. Tim Hayes and Michelle Pichet. We will share with you the wisdom of the first century Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. We offer tools and support 5 days a week. We will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love, in Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information about the forgiveness process, please visit www.whyagain.org. And now, welcome to the show, Mind Shifters Radio.
Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Monday, January 4th, 2021. January 4th, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're joining us live or listening through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered for improving my emotional relationships, my emotions, my emotional life, my relationships, my life in general. And I'm grateful to be able to say these tools are still available absolutely free at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the red and white bullseye or the link in the upper left-hand corner of most pages that says Start Here, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? That chapter of that book is a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool that I can use to engage a process of removing whatever doesn't belong in my energy system, removing the traumatic energies and false beliefs that prompt my brain to create false pictures of the world and then try to convince me that those false pictures of the world are accurate and that the people and things outside of me are what are causing my negative emotions. And when I engage that tool, I get to cancel the false perception and I get to restore something that's more accurate in perception. And I get to see more clearly an accurate picture of my surroundings, and then I make decisions that I'm far more likely to be happy with the consequences of those decisions. Also on that page, you can download the actual worksheet itself. You can actually download a whole series of MP3 files of shows just like this one where people can have called in and been stepped through the worksheet process, or they've called in and given powerful testimonials about how that worksheet has benefited them. You can also go to your app store and type in the 3 words, HeartLand Aramaic Forgiveness. HeartLand, all one word, HeartLand, Aramaic, Aramaic. And as you start typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. We tap on that, and it will download a completely free and private app that gives you access to the Reality Management Worksheet, an abbreviated version of that worksheet, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. And as you do that, you will have access to, as I said, one of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and freely accessible tools I've ever encountered in my over 46 years of doing therapy. And then if you do that, as we encourage people to do soon and often, and you have questions, that's why we're here 5 days a week in our current format, 2 hours a day, to field your questions, to try and provide support in learning how to use this tool effectively and efficiently in your life. Our call-in number for that is 563-999-3581. If you call that number and press 1, it'll put a little question mark up by your phone number, and I can announce you by your area code, which we'd be glad to do. This is the 4th day of the new year, 2021, and as we have made the commitment to work through the Course in Miracles, I will begin the show by reading the lesson for today. The lesson for today from Course in Miracles reads, I have given everything I see. Whoops, sorry, that's 2 lessons ago. I was working with somebody in my last session and I stepped back to the second lesson. Today's lesson, lesson number 4, is these thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room or on this street or from this window or in this place, wherever I happen to be. Lesson number 4, these thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things that I see. It goes on to say in some paragraphs, unlike the preceding lessons, these exercises do not begin with the idea for the day. In these practice periods, begin with noting the thoughts that are crossing your mind for about a minute, and then apply this idea to them. If you're already aware of unhappy thoughts, use them as subjects for the idea. Do not, however, select only the thoughts you think are bad. You will find, if you train yourself to look at your thoughts, that they represent such a mixture that, in a sense, none of them can be called, quote, good, close quotes, or, quote, bad, close quotes. This is why they do not mean anything. In selecting the subjects for the application of today's idea, the usual specificity is required. Do not be afraid to use good thoughts as well as bad. None of them represent your real thoughts, which are being covered up by them. The good ones are but shadows of what lies beyond, and shadows make sight difficult. The bad ones are blocks to sight and make seeing impossible. You do not want either. This is a major exercise and will be repeated from time to time in somewhat different form. The aim here is to train you in the first steps toward the goal of separating the meaningless from the meaningful. It is a first attempt in the long-range purpose of learning to see the meaningless as outside of you and the meaningful within. It is also the beginning of training your mind to recognize what is the same and what is different. In using your thoughts for application of the idea today, identify each thought by the central figure or event it contains. For example, this thought about my dog does not mean anything. This thought about Barb does not mean anything. This thought about my career does not mean anything. You can also use the idea for a particular thought that you recognize as harmful. This practice is useful, but is not a substitute for the more random procedures to be followed for the exercises. Do not, however, examine your mind for more than a minute or so. You are too inexperienced as yet to avoid the tendency to become pointlessly preoccupied. Further, since these exercises are the first of their kind, you may find the suspension of judgment in connection with thoughts particularly difficult. Do not repeat these exercises for more than 3 or 4 times during the day. We will return to them later. So, that's the lesson, and that's the reading from A Course in Miracles. Here's from Pam Grout's book. Her book is titled The Course in Miracles Experiment. Lesson 4. Fire the negative committee that meets inside your head. That's the title of this chapter for her. And then she quotes Jim Carrey, who says, "Most of what goes on in your mind doesn't deserve your attention. It's a tiring and terrifying time machine." Jim Carrey. She then says, "If there was a loudspeaker projecting the voice in my head, I would have been committed years ago. This insistent voice rarely, if ever, stops yammering. It seems to think it is Simon Cowell, that it's getting paid to judge, analyze, dissect, and label everything. What a huge relief to discover that all my mental verbalizing means nothing. Lesson 4 of A Course in Miracles says this: my thoughts do not mean anything. For a minute or two, whenever I think about it, I stop and notice my thoughts. That roommate in my head, as Michael Singer calls it. And I simply repeat, this thought, I'm running late, doesn't mean anything. This thought, that I need to pick up the house, doesn't mean anything. This thought, that it's really cold outside, doesn't mean anything. Believe me, she says, it's extremely liberating to realize that the running commentary that dominates my consciousness is not who I really am. So there's our lesson for today, and there's the commentary that Pam Grout adds to it. And we are open for comments, questions, discussion. We've also had another topic that's right in line with this suggested for today. Our call-in number is 563-999-3581. If you call that number and press 1, we can engage your question. You can help us more easily live into our intention, which is to be of service in this internet show, podcast, whatever you want to call it. 563-999-3581. I also had an emailed question from Susan Bingham, and since she just put her hand up, we'll see what her comments are. Susan, welcome.
Hi. Hi, Dr. Tim. I just got on. Missed the reading except for the Grout one, but I did them this morning anyway. Yeah, I thought you were talking about my topic when you mentioned the topic. So if you've got another topic, go for it. If it's relevant, particularly, then I will listen.
Well, it is your topic. You had emailed about how many of us who took the personal code evaluation ended up having low scores for respecting truth or honoring truth.
Yeah.
And
right.
Then you went on to say, as you understand it, the truth is that we are love and that we need do nothing, that we are innocent, and that my upset is caused by my own thoughts. That's one truth. The other truth is the truth of admitting, for instance, that I might have an attack of Schadenfreude. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, it's a wonderful German word.
That means taking what?
Taking pleasure in the misfortunes of others. It's a German word. Isn't that a cool word?
Yeah. Yeah. So you have an attack of that taking pleasure in the bad luck of others, right? And in the questionnaire, it asks the question twice, and you decided, I'll balance it out. I'll answer it one way one time and another way the other time.
Right.
And because, the actual truth of your experience in the moment at times when you hear about the bad fortune of someone that you are on bad terms with, you take pleasure in that. Right?
Yes, it depends on the person and the thing.
Yeah, it depends on, and your mood at the time.
Right, a lot of things.
So, and then you say, I know what the right answer is, in quotes, right answer, close quotes, but you say the first order of business would be to look at why I'm bothered by this situation, and the second order, though, is how to clear up the confusion. Well, the pathway to clearing up confusion like that is to simply keep doing my work, because the essence of what A Course in Miracles is going to try and direct us to is the same as every other great spiritual teaching, which is that all of these negative thoughts, they are our only creation, and they are from error. So it's important that you're able to own and be honest about the fact that you still have those negative thoughts. If I can't own them and be honest about the fact that I have them, I can't change them. And there is nothing mystifying about the fact that any of us as human beings who've been raised in this culture are conditioned into and trained into all kinds of negative thoughts. That's just a part of the truth of our lives. So it shouldn't be too confusing, because it's the soup we're raised in. It's the air we're breathing. It's the water we're swimming in as fish. This negativity, this judgment, this being trained to see in separation. Another thing that I was looking at this morning from the Course in Miracles Made Easy talks about how the Course in Miracles tries to help us understand the difference between projection and extension. Now, projection, most of us understand this as taking something in us and forming an idea about somebody else from our own issues. That's Dr. Michael Ryce says. I'm projecting from my past, from my pains, from my fears, projecting into my own mind an image of the other person or the situation outside of me dressed in my issues. And here in A Course in Miracles Made Easy, on page 25, it talks about the key to healing projection. The antidote to projection, A Course in Miracles explains, is extension. Extension means that we recognize godly attributes within ourselves and we extend them to unfold the world we perceive outside of us. Extension is similar to projection in that we're taking something inside of ourselves and seeing it as though it's outside of us. However, in extension, we're not fabricating a separation between ourselves and what we see. In extension, we enfold the world in the goodness that abides at the core of our being. Projection splits and disowns. Extension includes and embraces. So, when you're looking for how do I reconcile this inner experience that I have, that my little t truth is that I'm I'm filled with glee that somebody else that I don't like falls on hard times. And yet, there's another part of me that knows I shouldn't do that. That's not loving or respectful, etc. Well, the key to this from A Course in Miracles, as we'll get to in further lessons, is when I do that, when I see someone outside of me as different than me, that's a false picture. Remember how often you hear Dr. Michael Ryce quote from Einstein, who says, a human being is part of us, called by us, the universe. We are just a part of this whole system. We're not separate from this whole system. Michael Ryce interprets it as saying, if you think you're separate or separated from anyone or anything, you're living in an optical delusion. Einstein talks about how this separateness that we perceive leads us to special affection for certain people and things closest to us. But that special affection, that special affinity, creates a prison for us. And then we think we have to have that person or that thing in order for us to be whole or to be happy. And Einstein says, our work must be, the only way to free ourselves from that prison is to not withdraw our affection from those people closest to us, but learn to extend that affection to everyone and everything and all of creation. Well, that's what's being talked about here in Course in Miracles by extension. To extend that goodness that I perceive, that I experience in myself as my core, and extend that, enfolding everyone and everything I see outside of me. And when I've done that, when I'm seeing us all as part of the one flow of life, I'm not separating, and then it's not possible for me to be judging negatively. It's not all of the competition and all of the dream of separation is dissipated. Is that making sense, Susan?
Yep, it is. Sorry, I had you on mute because I've been clanking around. We just said goodbye to some house guests. But I'm here. It does make sense. My question, though, in that evaluation is, then I'm aiming for doing the extension all the way. But my present self is still split. So I'm answering the question. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm doing projection whenever I take any pleasure in a negative experience happening to someone else.
Right.
My first order of projection is to see them as separate from me, and another level of projection, which is distortion, is to think that I can have joy when somebody else is in pain. And so when I do this kind of work, what it has me do is look inside myself and discover what's my pain that I'm not willing to look at, that I haven't dismantled. Because it's only someone who's in pain who can create the delusion that they are joyful about somebody else being in pain. And once I dismantle my own inner pain, then I will have nothing but compassion for someone else who's experiencing discomfort or bad fortune, etc.
So my question was...
Go ahead. What is your question?
My question was very practical, and it has to do with a lot of stuff that I need to do worksheets on. The next time I take that test, I know the right answer. I can check the right box, but because I am not there myself, I feel as if I will be cheating one way or the other. And
Well, but
I know
it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, but look,
Yeah.
it's okay. Again, you're putting so much of your emphasis on the score of the test and the assessment. And what I'm encouraging you to do, like we did the last time we talked about this, is to just put the focus of your attention on yourself and what you need to do to heal. Any pain, fear, sadness, negative thought, or negative emotion that comes up in you. That's the core of this work. I'm not doing my lessons. I'm not doing the suggested Reality Management Worksheet topics or targeted journaling that Michael calls mind shifters, or the exercises of the love exchange in the mirror. I do not do those in an effort to lower my score on the personal code evaluation. If I do, I'm all screwed up.
Right. Okay. But then when you're taking the test, I don't want to take that test because it will never be the truth.
But it can be the truth if you just honestly answer it.
Yeah.
Right? You say, I don't want to take the test because it won't be the truth. Well, but it's the truth if I'm split. So I answer it that I'm still split. And then it recommends different worksheets for me to do and different targeted journaling for me to do, and I step into that process.
Yeah.
And if I do it because I'm trying to get a better score on the test, I'm not doing it for any reason of value. I won't get any value from it.
Right.
If I do it because I want to clear my perception and heal my pain, then the work I do can be productive. Remember, Michael likes to talk about the concept of doing the right thing for the wrong reason.
Right. Mm-hmm.
'Tis the highest treason to do the right thing for the wrong reason.
Right.
So if I'm going to engage a reality management worksheet or a mind shifter targeted journaling or 3 early memories of conflict or the love exchange in the mirror, I want to do it to heal any pain in me.
Right.
I want the reason I do my work to be my own healing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be so I get a better score on somebody's test.
I don't even care about the score. I care about somebody lording it over me, having secret knowledge about my badness, my low raw score, which they don't even divulge because they say it's not useful, but they know it. If somebody knows it, I want to know it. This is a worksheet fest here. This is a hydra.
Yes, you're right on it. Yeah. That's the only answer to this, is you have emotional tension around this, negative emotional response to this. It's all inside you. There's no outside answer that's going to provide you any relief.
Yep.
The one piece of input that you might get from the outside that might be like the compass pointing you in a slightly different direction is that if you're doing it to change the score, it's not useful. If you're doing it to heal your pained perception, then it's potentially quite useful.
Okay. I know, Dr. Tim, you're absolutely right, and I agree with you. There are just so many worksheets popping out of my thoughts now that it's almost not useful to list them all.
Okay, but here's the point. Just take one. You don't have to list them all. Just take one or two that come up first and start, write them down, and when you feel the move to do it, do them. Those one or two are going to be connected to all of the others. You don't have to do a worksheet on every negative thought you have.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, because they start to fall away once I correct the false perception that gave rise to the first or second or third.
Mm-hmm.
So notice that in that process, if you start to get overwhelmed because you have a negative thought about this and another one negative thought about that, and now I don't even want to write them down because there's so many negative thoughts and I'm feeling overwhelmed, then I put all of those negative thoughts aside and I just do a worksheet on overwhelm.
Okay. Right.
And when I've done the worksheet on overwhelm, I'm probably going to open the door. My energy will get restored, and I'll have the willingness to pursue whatever's the next right step, whether it's a worksheet or a mind shifter journaling or something else.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the lesson for today is all of these negative thoughts that you have about yourself do
They
not
don't mean
anything. There you go.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've had a couple other people put their hand up. Well,
Okay.
there's only one left. So let me turn on the microphone. Area code 520. You're in the air. Who do we have?
Yes, this is Audrey.
Hello, Audrey.
Good morning. And I'm doing my inner work and about the thoughts, and along with the Course of Miracles, I have this book. It is titled A Rediscovery of Free Will, and it's Undoing by Frederick J. Smith, M.D. He was a neurologist here in Tucson, where I live, or Arizona, where I live. About the book, and it's about the thought monitor. And I have said to myself, when I targeted a doorway. When I walk through the doorway to increase my awareness of my thoughts. When I cross the doorway, I go into myself and I ask, is this an upsetting thought or is this a peaceful thought? So I'm implementing the thought monitor to have the awareness of what is going on within me to identify where the work needs to be targeted. Is it an upsetting thought or is it a peaceful thought? So that's where I am, and when we do the Course in Miracles in the lesson where you targeted today, I think that goes along with it. And if it's an upsetting thought, I say, whoa, there's some work to be done. Am I pretty much on target, Dr. Tim?
Well, you can be. You want to be careful about blending these things because, you know, the Course in Miracles is very clear here. This is very, very early in the process. This is a critical lesson that will be repeated over and over and over again. And in the beginning here is what I read, the training of your mind is just starting. And this is a first attempt in a long-range purpose of learning to see the meaninglessness outside of you.
Okay.
And to see that what's truly meaningful is coming from inside you. And so if you take it on, pardon me?
So the meaningful is the authentic self? Is that?
Yeah, it's your core.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry to
It's
interrupt.
the idea that you were created whole and complete. You've always been whole and complete. Nothing of value can be taken from you. Nothing of value can be added unto you. It's that whole concept.
Okay. So when you said be careful of blending, could you expand? Because obviously I'm blending maybe.
Well, and it may be all right to blend if you do it lightheartedly, if you take it very lightly. Remember, in the first 3 lessons it was talking about you want to be at leisure with this. You want to take it easy. You don't want to do this lesson for 10 or 15 minutes at a time because that's going to create a sense of urgency and pressure. And so, you know, if you're doing it very lightly and you're just practicing, then it might be in line with this lesson. If you're saying, every doorway I go through, I'm going to do this, that's a little bit more strict and stringent than these early lessons in the Course in Miracles. and might induce a level of intensity that's not in alignment with these lessons.
Yeah, it wasn't, I have to clarify, it wasn't every doorway. I targeted maybe the awareness of every hour or something similar to that. It's just to increase my awareness as to what is going on with my thoughts. Is it my authentic self or my ego self? And what I hear you saying is the previous lessons is be gentle with myself. Is that what I hear you say?
That's a very good way to say, yeah, it's a very good way to say much the same thing. I want to do this as a leisurely practice. I'm going to be just starting on this year-long journey, and I may have to do it for a number of years before I feel big shifts, and I want to just be gentle with myself. If I've been conditioned for 3, 4, 5, 6 decades before coming across tools like this, and been conditioned in negative thoughts and judgment and competition, and then it's going to take a while to undo that conditioning, and I'm just going to go slowly, understanding that it is a process. It's the journey itself. I'm not going to flip a switch and get a transformation of self that now I never have another negative thought. So all those things, soften it, don't make it too intense. We had a conversation with Susan on Friday about how she is already looking forward to thinking, oh my gosh, I know where this goes, and I know that eventually I'm going to have to do this exercise where it's 5 minutes every hour, and I'm going to fail at it, and I'm going to feel horrible that I'm failing. And it's exactly that kind of pressure that I'm trying to alert you to the fact that we as humans are so good at doing to ourselves, and it's counterproductive.
It's what I hear myself saying to me is it's an undoing. Okay, it's undoing what I have been conditioned of the worldly operation, going towards the authentic self that I am innocent, I am perfect, and that's where I actually live in my core. And if I'm not in my core, I'm in the egoic thoughts.
Yep, that's
right?
That's true for all of us. That's true for all of us.
Thank you, because I'm doing my inner work, and I really appreciate the feedback. Thank you, and blessings.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the call. So, Susan.
Yeah.
We're back to encouraging you to be gentle with yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And it's perfectly okay if my truth in this moment is I'm still raging at this person and I'm looking forward to hearing that they failed miserably. It's perfectly okay. As a matter of fact, if I can't accept that, I can't do anything to change it. If I put on a fake smile and pretend, oh, I've forgiven them and I've forgiven them and I'm so loving and I'm so spiritual, and then I can't move forward because I won't meet myself where I am. The only way for me to make progress is to be as deeply, profoundly honest about where I am and what's going on inside of me as I can be.
Right. I totally agree with that. One of my worksheets is that I have this feeling that, I'm already pretty old. I'm going to go to my grave not having stopped having those feelings occasionally. Of course, that's just talk. That's just a thought that doesn't mean anything. I love this lesson because of that. I also love Anthony DeMello, because he says things like, we're all selfish. It depends on what kind of selfish you want to be. Do you want to be just selfish, self-centered, or do you want to be helpful to other people so you can feel good about yourself in your selfishness? And I think he's the best. He's helping me just accept where I am, and even the idea that I might never be other than this.
Excellent.
So,
excellent, because there's nothing wrong with as you are. There's nothing wrong with what you are and who you are. And the truth of this, the Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery and these other lessons, the Michael Singer's work, the truth of it is, it's only when I see at a level that I can feel it deep in my bones that I'm okay just the way I am, it's only then that progress is possible.
Yeah, and maybe at that point, some of this other stuff will just naturally blow away and not be an issue.
Well, sometimes it just falls away completely, and sometimes it's just that much easier to dismantle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's a critical point that comes to mind in responding to your question. The first thing is, you're talking about many of us who took the personal code evaluation ended up having low scores for truth or honoring truth. Well, guess what? That just means you're human, right? There's think about it as that score on that test as just where the compass point lands when you take a reading when you're taking a hike in the woods. If the compass, all of a sudden you're standing there and the compass says you're pointed north and you wanted to be going east, do you get all angry? No, you just turn to the right and proceed.
Yeah, all true.
And so any of that investment I have in the score is the egoic stuff that is only going to compound my problems if I feed it.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, but what?
It's another worksheet popping its little head. The thought that I don't mind knowing my own stuff. That's the kindest word I can think of it at the moment. I don't mind my knowing it. I don't want other people knowing things about me that I can't know. Keeping a scorebook.
Okay, because of why? What's the because in you that makes that unpleasant?
Secret knowledge. So they have secret knowledge, and so they'll know who I really am, and I won't even have a sense of what I really am. They'll know stuff I don't even know. They're privy to information about me that...
Okay, which is going to lead to what horrible outcome?
I like the way you ask that. because it won't lead to anything.
Oh, no, it will lead to something. Otherwise, you wouldn't be upset about it. You have some belief that it's going to lead to something negative, or you wouldn't have upset about it.
It just makes me laugh because it's really not important. It doesn't matter, but
Right, but to some part of you, it matters deeply.
I know. I can't tell you what that is right now, but it'll come to me. It just seems like such a funny question.
Chuckles and laughter are back.
Because I know there isn't going to be something horrible. These are my thoughts playing in their little sandbox. They're just not necessary thoughts. And it doesn't matter. And the people who are in the know, who know my raw scores, for instance, they've been very nice to me. And part of me, the part
Despite
that isn't...
the fact that you're such a heinous human being?
Right.
It's really amazing. You know, they still treat me like I'm human, but they know I'm from the planet Kumquat, and I'm only here to destroy the world. Yeah, but they still treat me nicely. It's amazing.
I know. And so I don't trust them, and I think they're putting on a show. You see how this goes? I mean, this just goes around and around and around.
Well, let me just remind you of something. These thoughts do not mean anything.
I know, and Magda just texted me.
They are just like the things that I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place. Just wanted to give you that reminder. Go ahead.
Okay, Magda said, could it be loss of approval? Oh, sure. Yep, Magda, you're right on. Of course.
Right, but then what happens if there's loss of approval?
You get punished.
Okay, how are you going to get punished?
You know the way.
Are you back to writing crop stuff?
Yes, I am. Or just generally being thrown into outer darkness. Not passing muster.
Okay, so you're going to have loss of affection? Is that part of what you mean by thrown into outer darkness?
Yeah, cosmically though. The ultimate judgment.
Okay. All right, so stay with that for a minute. I'm going to turn on the area code 484. You're in the air. Who do we have?
Hi, this is Ellen.
This is my new person, Dr. Tim.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to take ownership over Ellen. Ellen, sorry about that, but you're now a slave. Go ahead, Ellen. How can we support you?
I just had a couple of comments. Number one, Susan, I loved when you burst into laughter because that right there told me you finally saw the truth. It went from this horrible thing of someone knowing something about you, knowing secrets about you, to you seeing that it doesn't mean anything. And that laughter was like, yay, she got it. And see how freeing that laughter is. And when it made me start laughing. I heard you start laughing, Dr. Tim. It's like, and that's what the truth does. It frees us from that imprisonment. And so I wanted just to make that comment, and also just to give a little thing that I use when I find myself, when I have those thoughts that there's something, wrong with me or wrong with what's happening or wrong with someone else. I've come up with this little saying that the opposite of right is not wrong, it's left. And so there is no wrong. So when I think something's wrong, I have to remind myself there is no wrong, there's only left. And left is no better or worse than right. It's the same. So, and I think that's one of the things the Course tries to teach too, is I think in this lesson he mentioned something about seeing what is the same and what's different is, because we seem to think, oh, this is a good thought and that's a bad thought, but I think the lesson is saying they're all the same. None of them mean anything, the good thoughts or the bad thoughts. They're all the same. So that's why I like to think of, instead of wrong, it's left. There's no judgment on right or left, but there's a huge judgment on right or wrong. Like the compass that you mentioned, Tim. East and north, they're just directions. We don't put a judgment on them.
Exactly.
So that's one really of the things
helpful. Plus, another thing I like to do is when I think that someone else may be judging me about, my behavior or whatever, I always say to myself, it's none of my business what someone else thinks about me. And I just shut it down. It's none of my business.
That's
so that was.
If you can really do that, that is fabulous.
Well, I might have to repeat it over and over again, but I know it's the truth. So that's why I just, I know it's helpful. So I just choose to be helpful to myself. Instead of continue to, batter myself with believing these thoughts that are bringing me pain.
And that's one of the things about this work is that it is a choice. And in order for us to be able to operate in that from that place of choice, we have to understand that it is a choice. And we have been conditioned to believe we don't have a choice. There's nothing we can do about how we think and what we believe and all of that nonsense. But this is all about choosing to do these lessons and choosing to do them at a leisurely pace. Choosing to observe and question everything. And once we've been introduced to this possibility, now we have the choice. So you can, if you have a set of negative thoughts come up, you can choose to, just for a moment or two, practice this lesson. These thoughts don't mean anything. And it's important to not make that the focus of this lesson. So you just take some time, 2 or 3 times a day, morning and evening, and notice what your thoughts are in that moment. And then, whether they're good, neutral, or, quote, bad, close quotes, you simply practice, these thoughts do not mean anything.
It's good to be reminded that the good thoughts don't mean anything either. That
Exactly.
takes a lot of pressure off.
Exactly. The point is to extend that special affection you have to everyone and all of creation. To realize that the loving, the cherishing, the respectful thoughts you have about anyone are equally applicable to everyone. And in doing that, I get closer to the capital T truth.
Right.
But part of the process, the goal of this, as we talked about in the first 3 lessons, and I talked about it from the foreword and the introduction, the purpose of A Course in Miracles is to help us clarify our perception, restore true perception, and dismantle the false perceptions. So there is nothing that's ever been wrong with you. You don't need to heal or change or become different than you are. what's the only thing that's needed is for you to be able to perceive yourself more accurately. And this is a course in, you could say purifying, you could say clarifying, you could say correcting perception. And that's a tall order, right? That's a real tall order. If I've gotten, 40, 50, 60 years worth of conditioning before I come across a course like this, I have to dismantle false conditioning that's been decades in the making. Okay, that's not going to happen overnight. It certainly can happen. And according to my willingness, it can happen far more quickly and easily than I would ever have imagined before I even knew it was possible to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Are you still there, Ellen?
Yes.
Ellen, I want to ask you, because you said your father and you used to do laughing therapy or something like that?
Yeah. We used to laugh together a lot, and then I started a laughing meditation group at one point.
Why do you laugh?
Well, I experienced, I had a very intense experience with laughter, and I found it to be very cathartic, so I decided to start that group, and so yes, and really my father was kind of the person that started it all with me. So are you saying
similar is it similar to the laughter yoga that we've heard about?
I think it is. The only there's really no there's no structure to it at all the way that I did it, and I just followed what I learned from someone who was doing it, which is literally I will start to laugh because I can laugh at any time. So I would start to laugh, and because laughter is contagious, the other people with me will eventually start to laugh too. And I tell them if you don't find it funny, then you can fake it. You can fake it, and at some point, all of a sudden, you realize you're not faking it anymore. Some people can just easily laugh, and other people it takes a while. But eventually, everyone starts to laugh, and what's really cool about it is we're not needing a reason for it. We're just laughing to laugh because it's fun, and because it's really funny to join with others who are laughing. It's not really that much fun when you're laughing by yourself, but when you're with other people, it becomes a very fun.
Unless you're like me. Unless you're like me, then you can laugh by yourself, and it.
I actually can do the same thing. Laughter comes very easily to me, and it also did to my father. So I don't know if that's an ancestral thing, but most people are very inhibited when it comes to laughter, is what I discovered. So it's very helpful, though, if they can, just as they're feeling comfortable, begin to laugh. But I just found it an extremely mind-opening exercise, because it really is like a type of meditation, because the thinking mind is not in charge while you're laughing.
Yep, that's what happens when it gets contagious. Well, I appreciate the call. It's great to have another voice on the show. Thank you for joining us. We're down to our last few seconds of our first hour. please stick with us. Michael and Jeanie will be here for the second hour. And I will just remind us all that we come from love. We're made of this stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeanie Ryce.
Thank you, Dr. Tim. An awesome conversation between Susan and Ellen and yourself.